Hey guys, so of course we just had YCS Indy and we're actually going to have another YCS this coming weekend. So as usual, I actually wanted to go through, what some of the decks that the high rated players on Dueling Book are playing, just so we have some more added sense of what this post AGOV format is going to look like. Now, because this is still kind of early-ish in the new post-ban list format, I'm finding that the ratings are quite volatile at this time. So this time around, I'm only going to focus on the top 50 ranked players rather than top 200. And before we continue, definitely go check out those discount codes for Yu-Gi-Oh! Singles as well as supplies. You can use code Hakuna5 for Dragon Shield sleeves now, which is really good. And also definitely keep an eye out for Card Brawlers and Tier 0 games for those pre-orders for the reprint sets. So for this month, this is what the pie chart looked like for those ranked 1 to 50. Now, of course, I don't actually have data for all 50 players because basically what I do is, I just watch the high-rated players duel just to collect data on what deck they're playing. Sometimes I also reach out to them and hope that they respond in terms of what deck they're playing. So I was only able to get about 37 players, so about 3/4 of the top 50. So that's what we can work with. So of course, the pie chart might look a little bit different if we had all 50 players. Nonetheless, I think it's safe to say, decks like, let's say, Tearlaments, Rescue Ace, Dragonrider, Purrely, are like some of the top decks right now. As we've seen at YCS Indy, of course, Purrely was actually, I believe, second most represented, while Tearlaments was actually had a bit of a disappointing showing in that YCS top cut. But at the same time, I don't think we can write it off just yet. I mean, we do have another YCS this weekend, so let's certainly see how that's going to fare out. And of course, Mannadium finished top 4 with Triff, for example. Unchained didn't have as much top cut representation, but again, another deck we cannot write off. And you have decks like, let's say, Labyrinth actually had a top at YCS India as well. Branded, this actually is 1 Despia, 1 Chimera, and I believe none of the branded lists actually topped YCS Indy, which was in a way a little bit of a surprise because Chimera is like so well played. But again, let's see how it works out for this YCS this weekend, and a bunch of other decks in the other that we'll get to shortly in the video. Now, if we focus on top 25 ranked players, at this point I had about 16 players in the top 25, so about 65%. So again, this pie chart might look different if we have all the players available, but nonetheless, you still see the same theme of, Rescue Ace, Dragonrider, and Tearlaments being like really played in these top rated players. Especially in the top 10, you still saw Tearlaments, or rather Rescue Ace, more of Rescue Ace, and then some Dragonrider and Tearlaments as well. Chimera, but you know what, at this point you also have some rogue options, which is really cool to see. For example, Dark World. I mean, this is a deck, honestly, if you don't have Droll and they go first, like, you're probably not winning that game. It's honestly a deck that I hate facing the most, just because it's just so, solitaire based, more extreme than most other decks. You also have Infernoble. This was interesting because this is actually Infernoble with like a Sinful Spoils engine, which I certainly did not expect. So I think it's really cool. I'm really excited to see if this kind of deck list will also top either at the YCS or I'm sure at least at the regional level. And then you also have Vanquish Soul. They did get a new card in post, or rather Age of Overlord as well. It actually also had top at YCS Indianapolis as well. So I guess it's still technically kind of considered more of a rogue deck at this point, but I think it's still very, very solid. Mannadium, and of course Sword Soul. This is a deck that's definitely fallen off a lot in the last like 4 months, I would say. I think early in the summer, they got like that Denglong back on the ban list, and then people didn't really end up actually using that anymore. So you know what, I think it's still pretty decent and definitely a budget option at least. In terms of some of the other decks that were not covered in the pie charts, we of course have Floowandereeze in the top 50 as well. It's a deck that as long as Tearlaments, Unchained are in the meta, like you're still going to see it. It also topped YCS Indianapolis as well, and I'm sure we're going to continue seeing this. And so hopefully we don't have to see too much of Shifter in the future, but for now we have to deal with it. We also had a Dino FTK in the top 50, and this is actually by Lolo Nebu, who I actually did a deck profile with very, very recently. So you can certainly go check out that deck profile video out in terms of the list, but in terms of also a combo video in terms of how he actually FTKs with this deck. So I think it's really, really cool, especially seeing Dinos, being able to do well, at least on Dueling Book right now. And then there was another one that was more, I guess, like Runic Bistio. I'm not really sure how that works, but at the same time, you were actually seeing a couple runic lists top, and it wasn't really like runic, for hire or twins sprite that we're kind of accustomed to seeing at this point. I think there's definitely still a place right now for those, completely different kinds of runic variants, so definitely keep an eye out for those as well. And then finally, in terms of a brief overview of like the most played decks on Dueling Book, just among all players and not really the high rated players, in terms of the top 5, Tearlaments definitely still number 1. There's a lot of different tier variants technically as well, so still seeing a lot of play. Rescue Ace, technically on YGO this cannot be identified directly, but you can search for, let's say, Rescue Ace Hydrant, and then I had to do a little bit of adjustment to make it work, but you can certainly let me know in the comments if you have questions on how that works. Purrely and Chimera as well as Labyrinth, those are again not really a surprise, most played decks, as well as in Top Cut 2. And then you still have Runic, a lot of Runic variants. So this is something that, again, as I said, you know, you have to keep an eye out for them. They're not completely out yet. And I think if you saw my YCS Top Cut breakdowns, you were seeing a very big decline in the play of Cosmic Cyclone, which of course is very good against Runic, and I'm sure they're happy about that. Although of course the play of Droll is actually coming back up again, so that's not very good for Runic. We have Unchained, which you know, as we saw kind of in the Top Cut at YCS India as well, I guess it's sort of losing popularity right now. I mean, definitely don't write them off, but not seeing nearly as much popularity in terms of online play, at least compared to like the last month. We also have Vanquish Soul and Mannadium, you know, solid options, as shown to be able to top YCS at least consistently, even if it's just a 1 or 2 decks that manage to get in there, but they do still do it pretty well. And Dragon Link, it's kind of surprising that overall among all players, it actually didn't see as much play, but as you saw in like the high rated players, there's actually a good amount of Dragon Link in there. And I mean, perhaps maybe for like the general player base, if like that limit of, you know, Magma Chaos base, maybe that kind of threw them off and wanted to play something else. But as we've seen time and time again, you know, Dragon Link, if you're a good pilot, like you can really do well in pretty much every format. Anyways, that was it for the quick overview of, you know, what the high rated players on Dueling Book are playing, just to provide some form of additional context into this new post AGOV format. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean this is what the top cut at the next YCS is going to look like, but, you know, by and large, I think it's still pretty safe to say that, you know, decks like Rescue Ace, Tearlaments, Purrely, and Unchained and Dragon Link are really good options right now. So anyways, a huge thanks to all of you for watching. Big thanks to my Patreons for continuing to support the channel, and well, take care, guys.